So this reel was really just to kind of show the idea of the eye of the moon. And I'll just explain it a little bit. In a lot of different films, a lot of different shows, we see different characteristics where we get evil eyes or the eye of the moon type of idea. And I started off with the dinosaur from Jurassic Park, but you see this in a lot of dragon or lizard-like films where you see this eye in it that matches the eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings series. Now, the word dinosaur was created before any type of dinosaur or giant lizard was found. So it precedes any discovery, letting you know that it's really not about the actual discovery. The words are based off of something before them. And the idea of dinosaurs comes from dino, which means sky or night. You eat at diner or dinner time, so we get that idea. And then Sauron is a word that is based off of an old myth or old character. And that character appears in the Lord of the Rings, but it's really a point to the moon. The prefix or suffix Ron is associated with the moon. So whenever you hear Ron in the character's name or last name, it's a point to the moon. Same thing with other words like Don or Gore or Groot. These are all moon-based words. So when you look into a dinosaur's eye, especially when it's presented from mainstream media, like the ones that are in Jurassic Park, you can zoom in and see that it's the eye of Sauron that's being shown to you inside of the dinosaur's eye. And it's really great detail. It looks almost exactly like the eye that's shown at the top of the towers on the Lord of the Rings series, right? And it's one eye in the sky. We get this idea, the all-seeing eye, in a lot of different shows. And sometimes this idea will be reversed from moon to sun. But in this series, it's moon-based. This is why you see the crescent moon underneath of it and the eye inside of it. And it's just where we get the idea of like money, mono eye, the ability to watch and control people by having them use your cash tender system or just cash flow system. It's mono eye. But in the Lord of the Rings series, we have the story of Sauron, who's this sorcerer, I believe. And for most of the movie, we see the giant eye in the sky representing the character. It's not the actual physical character. It's just kind of like a personification of that character in the sky. So it's kind of like a double play of the story here. But in this story, it's a story about the sun versus the moon with a lot of Saturnian ideas in it. But we have the main character who becomes the king, the return of the king at the end of the last trilogy of the first trilogy is a play on like the Jesus Christ character. This is why the character is kind of like modeled after that look. But it's so, just letting you know that it's a sun versus moon story. But in this film or in this series, Sauron has a not apprentice, but a person underneath of him, a sorcerer named Saruman. And Saruman's also pointing to the moon. You hear the word Mon in it, which is where we get the word Monday, which comes from moon. The same word, same thing as month. Moon goes to moon. But I added an interesting scene in that reel where that wizard falls off the building. The good wizard is challenging him, and the evil one falls off the building. And we see the same kind of idea in the most recent Doctor Strange film, where the good wizard is challenged or challenging the evil wizard, and the evil wizard falls out of the building into spikes. And I just added that because I try to reinforce the idea that you're not really watching any original movies. You're just seeing the same scenes reshuffled up and retold and presented to you as a new film. But it's really all pointing back to the same ideas or the same stories that are based off of the sky. And in the Transformers cartoon movie that came out in the 80s, there's a being called Unicron, which is like a giant planet. And it starts off by eating moons, just to kind of intimidate. The same thing that Thanos did in the Avengers film. Thanos is a character who's personifying the moon, and the first character that he fought in the Infinity Saga is the Hulk, because the Hulk is a moon-based character. So you have the Titan or supermoon beat down a full moon, and that's how it gets introduced. And that same idea goes on with Unicron, but in Unicron and in Unicron's transforming form, he's also a planet. Some books also refer to him as a virus, but then other books show him as an eye in the sky, and it's the same kind of idea. And what's interesting is about all these concepts where you have the moon or the eye in the sky, they're all end of the world or end of the series type concepts. So there's a reset that happens after this battle. And the Transformers, after Unicron, it's a new generation. We have a new generation of Transformers. After Sauron is destroyed, it's a new age in the Lord of the Rings series, where the Return of the King happens. Same thing with Naruto. After they defeat the Eye of the Moon plan or that phase, it's a new generation that starts. And speaking of Naruto, there's a group of characters in that show called the Uchiha who have ocular abilities where they can use their eyes to place influence and all. And that's one of Sauron's abilities in the film or in the Lord of the Rings, and it all is based on the idea of the moon being able to have a dreaming type effect. When a person looks up at the moon, they go kind of into like a dream state. The moon is associated with dreams. This is why your computers are named after ideas of the moon. Like a Mac is a word that always means moon. Pay attention to characters named Max in films, and then presidents who are associated with the moon, and look at how those characters get killed in films. It's because it's the idea of the moon. This is why we have computers called Mac. This is why another brand of computers is called Windows, to look out your window at night to go into the dream world. So computers, the whole idea of the computers were always for a matrix, or to put you in a dream state, not be a part of nature. And you see that even in the name of the different things within a computer, like gigabytes, or gigabytes is a play on a super or giga moon, right? You need more data or more ability to store, so you need a bigger moon to cast a spell on people, kind of idea. And a lot of the concepts would move with your computer has to do with the moon. And I'll do a separate video on that, just to kind of break that down. But just consider that the computers or the brands of computers are named after the moon. But these Uchiha characters in Naruto, they have that ability also to kind of do like stare at you in your eyes and put you in a dream state. And they also have some other abilities that they can do that manifest physically, like they can phase in and out like the moon. There's a bunch of other things they can do with their powers, but when it's first introduced, the most dramatic one is their ability to look at you in the eyes, same way like a vampire, and kind of cast a control over you. And we see this idea with the idea of Sauron in the Lord of the Rings, where whoever puts the ring on Sauron can locate them, can communicate, or inflict kind of like a dream state on them. And that idea goes on and on. But this is what's really being presented when you see the eye of Sauron or the moon eye in characters in films. And if you don't see them do some type of direct casting on a character in the film, you're the one being casted on. Like they might add this eye to cast a spell on you as a viewer to get you to be scared or afraid of or influence you. And you see this kind of idea in the V series, or the idea of reptilians. But there's actually people out here who buy that there's reptilians, right? And you see this in the idea of gremlins. And this goes on and on. And the idea of reptilians, if you break it down, it's so easy to see the kind of psyop with that. Whenever you have anything that's like an animal or some type of thing that's freaky, you should try to see if it lines with anything zodiac wise, right? We know the lizard or the reptile is an animal that's on zodiac calendars, right? And then all you have to do is figure out what the direct rival is of that, and it's usually like a monkey. The monkey versus lizard is a common play on some kind of like hidden message of seeing who God is, right? You have Godzilla versus King Kong, right? The God lizard versus the king or the kin, so who's going to come out on top? And that's the kind of idea you see with lizards versus apes or gorillas, right? So if there's a story or a psyop going on in the public about reptilians, and then people are being referred to as monkeypoxes and moonkeys and descendants of monkeys, it's an allegory for you to challenge the idea of authority or God. And it's probably being put out by people who want you to do that. But every time you get a depiction of reptilians, they will always have this eye of Sauron or this Sauron idea associated with them as well. I mean, and these things are not really hard to break down. Most ideas of anything that's scary or monster-like comes from stories being told that are based off of the moon. This is where the word moonstar or moonstar comes from, leveraging the idea of scary tales under an eclipse, moonstar or monster. I mean, and then you got people like David Icke out here who will run with the idea of reptilians, is getting interview time, to spread the idea of reptilians to people. Why do you think the big people are promoting and allowing David Icke to tell you these things? Because there are people who want you to think that you're not the top of creation here on the planet, on Earth, however you view it. They want you to think that there's other things that can exceed you here. And I'm sorry to say, but we're the top of creation. We're the top that God created here. This is why we're here. There's no aliens coming. And the idea of even aliens, when you look at the little gray aliens, they look like moon people. And it's because they're leveraging the idea of moon stars or monster stories to tell you. And the reason why this is able to be effective is because there's truth to it. They're just retelling you nature using the power of the stories to tell you things that influence how you think and feel. And the reason why it has a ring to it or a vibration to when they're telling you is it because it's a true manipulated perversion of truth. So that's it. That's the video on the idea of the eye of the moon. It's really just a play on leveraging the moon's power to put people in a dream state. And the way they're leveraging it is not through any type of magical means, but really just telling you what you're seeing shuffled up so deeply away from the normal idea that it still has a ring to it. They're telling you the literal story of the moon just by adding different elements to it. But because there's their truth of the moon in it, it works. I hope you can see the ridiculousness of dinosaurs through this idea that they are sharing the same story of the moon as other characters, and it's hidden in their eyeball, right? For that reason. And then I hope you can see that, the moon eye or the eye in the sky kind of corona idea has always been in the plans to be a part of a reset or a generational change. And you see this in the Lord of the Rings film when they defeat the Eye of Mordor or the Moon Eye. They are able to have a new age. You see this in the idea of dinosaurs when a giant rock or eye or moon eye from the sky comes down. It's a new reset. You see this idea in Naruto after they're able to beat the Eye of the Moon phase, right? And Kaguya, who is the moon princess, right? And she forms a giant supermoon in the sky. Then it's a new age, and the same thing with Avengers when they're able to beat the Mad Titan, the supermoon. It goes into a new age period. And then we always get told, like, don't look at vampires directly in their eyes. Don't look at these Uchiha, these moon ninjas in their eyes. Don't look at Sauron in its eyes. And it's all a play on don't look at a blood moon in the eyes, or don't look at an eclipse with your bare eyes kind of idea. So that's it. That's the video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. And here's another little reel.
Sauron! Do not resist me with a witch!